Welcome back to the channel, guys. Kerrod here, back at the Joondalup Resort, and in this video I'm going to show you the 3 backswing checkpoints that you need to know to really upgrade the repeatability and quality of your motion. Let's get into it. So before we get into it, please go down below, click subscribe, click that little bell so you get notified of any upcoming videos just like this to help your game in the year ahead. Okay, so let's talk about those 3 backswing checkpoints. Starting with number 1, which is going to be in the takeaway position. From the address, as I move this golf club back, our first point of reference is going to be when the club shaft is parallel to the ground. As you can see here, we've got this shaft in a parallel position, and we've got the club head and the hands somewhat in line. Now there's variations of this. You could be slightly inside, slightly outside. My preference would be anywhere from in line to slightly outside, but that is just the shaft. If we're also looking at the club head or the club face, and we see the angle of that leading edge, what I would generally like to see would be that the toe of the golf club would be turned down to the ground slightly, so it was almost matching your spine angle at address. And effectively, that just means that the club face is staying square to the arc as you take this golf club back. On top of that, by this stage of the swing, we should be looking for a flat left wrist. So the angle between your forearm and your glove should be relatively flat. If we start in the address position, there may be a little bit of a cup, but then as we move that golf club back into this first parallel, we can see that the left wrist would be flat, the shaft parallel to the ground, pointing somewhat at our target line, and the club face turned slightly down. That's checkpoint number 1. Checkpoint number 2, from here, as we begin to make our backswing, what I would like to see by the time that the lead arm is parallel, I would like to see some turn with this lower body. I would like to see some chest rotation with this upper body, and the hands relatively in front of the sternum. Far too often, I'll see players pull this golf club back with their arms, the sternum is facing down towards the ball, and the arms are starting to move back and behind your body. From the setup position, as you make your backswing, I would like to see these chest and the hands relatively in front of each other. I would also like to see the angle of the shaft anywhere pointing from at the ball line to slightly inside. If you find that your club shaft is turned too much out in this direction, well, effectively you've had excessive forearm rotation and you've rolled that club too far on the inside. That's definitely a checkpoint that I want you to be wary of. So let's cover that again. So as we take this golf club back to lead arm parallel, we're looking for the angle of the shaft to be matching anywhere from the ball to slightly inside. And we're looking for a bit of hip rotation, so the right hip has moved back and released somewhat, and the hands are relatively in front of the chest. Right here, I'm in a great spot to then complete the top of my swing. So that's checkpoint number 2. Now finally, checkpoint number 3. I'm going through checkpoint number 1, checkpoint number 2, and checkpoint number 3 at the top of the swing. What we would be looking for, the main thing here, is the distance between the elbows is the same as it was at address, and also the right arm is relatively in front of the body. The 2 main errors that I see players make in this stage would be a separation of the arms to the top and the right elbow for the right hander moving back and behind their body. So as you can see, the elbows have separated, the arms have gotten very close to my body in this position. That's usually going to lead to a cupped wrist, which is going to cause some club face issues, especially when it comes to returning that golf club predictably back to the ball each and every time. So let's cover those again. Checkpoint number 1, as I take the golf club back, flat left wrist, club hands relatively in line, club face slightly turned down. From there, lead arm parallel. I'm looking for some turn of the lower body, the hands relatively in front of the chest, and the angle of the shaft pointing anywhere at the ball or slightly inside. And finally, as we get to the top of our swing, we're looking for our elbows to be relatively in front of our body and the right elbow somewhat inside of the seam line of our shirt, not getting too pulled back and behind our body. So the combination of these 3s will really add some functionality to your backswing and ensure that you've got a little bit more repeatability as that golf club comes back from transition and down into impact. Once again, thanks very much for tuning in and watching this and all my other videos here to help you as you progress with your golf games in the year to come. I'm Kerrod. I look forward to seeing you next time.